What is up, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Secret Sundays. This is your host, Skip Marazzi, also your friend, and we're here to spend some unstructured time together. Um, by unstructured, I mean, of course, that it's only going to go for 90 minutes, not that we're going to wander all over the place, but more that there's a free form to this and it's more about spending creativity, time being creative than anything else. This is I think it's had this show has been here before. Sometimes we've had guests, and sometimes we've had working on a story. Sometimes we're playing a game. And to me, that's all the same thing. Like, it's all a form of improv, right? We're all just improvising. So, yeah, that's what we're doing on Secret Sundays now. Um, Later after this, we will be doing the SESH program, so uh, you can stay tuned for that. And then also, you can catch it. I think it's going to be. I'm not really sure how we're going to let that out. It might really drop on the same day, so a couple hours apart. That's when Flamingo is doing, we're just session with Flamingo, either hanging out, playing some video games, making some music, um, but all the time just, talking about just vibing, you know, what life is about, what we're experiencing, what it means to be a person. So, and what it means to be a person in this society, right? Where we are in this place in history. We find it interesting, and I also have also found it interesting. Um, there was one story I wrote, which I would enjoy actually to have the opportunity to write again. So, guys, comment below if you want to hear this story. But yeah, so it's how Jesus is actually an alien. It wasn't. It's not an abduction, but they implanted Mary with the surrogate, and the aliens are connected to like the ancient god of the Hebrews. It's kind of like what he was doing in the Noah movie, and by him I mean the director whose name I'm slipping on. Yeah, I'll pop it in so you can know who it is. I think yeah, Aronofsky maybe. Yeah, Darren Aronofsky. That Noah movie with Russell Crowe. Uh, so, but like how it has like this concept of these aliens, and so I want to tie it into like that lineage, and then the alien abductions of like the present time. In the story are like they're checking in with the lineage of like Jesus's like line, uh, and so and that's why he like comes back and all this. That's why he resurrects. But also they say that he appeared in different places and times. So possibly he reared some children. So he's like a star seed child or whatever. So he's spreading star seeds, right? And so then we get to the apocalypse, and it's actually it's like you read in the Book of Revelation. It's like this Borg ship that comes down and like takes over Earth, but it's like after all hell is broken loose. Um, so I don't know. It would be real fun. Chandler just proposed recently. I'm sorry, Chandler, who is Flamingo, proposed just recently how, of course, how AI could be the Antichrist. And so tying that in into a film concept, I think it'd be fun. I think it could be done in a couple hours and tell a really fun story. Again, if you guys like the idea, I'm pitching it, and you tell me what you want to do with it. We might write it here on one of the Secret Sundays or something. What's up, buddy? Hey, wave your hand if you want to come on. If you're just listening, that's totally cool too. We're doing Secret Sundays, and we have Logan Gifford in the audience. So, um, I'm gonna switch screens real quick. Oh yeah, but I'm gonna be sharing them too. So let's do it like this. This is going to be a great example of like what um, what we do. Um, like, because I haven't really seen this story since the last time I did a show was like 2 weeks ago, right? And as much as I would love to tell you that I'm like, an obsessed writer who loves to, think about my writing, I got a lot that's going on. I got a life that goes on all the time. I have other projects I'm working on. I have a really short attention span. So that's one of the reasons that I created, story calculators so that I wouldn't lose my place as it goes along. And then also make sure it continues to tell the same story, because sometimes your point of view changes as you go through time, So what you started writing now you feel differently about, and so the scene changes, but then the scene's no longer true to itself, and you have to go and rewrite the scene. Um, and so, like every time you come into the story, sometimes that's the case. Unless you have like a really clear idea. Um, I hope that's uh, I hope that's clear. But let's take a look here. I'll just read you the story real quick. Because remember, the story is about a grumbler who is scowling on a surveillance photo. And the anti-theme is that there's a quokka who's smiling on a selfie. So we're telling these two stories like back to back like that. So here's the story, and again, it starts with the grumbler and what he wants, how it's physically happening in the world, and how it's getting worked into a frenzy. I think we finished the first scene. Oh no, we're working our way into the climax. Okay, or the crescendo. Um, this is fantastic. All right. So it's good to review, in my opinion, especially as you're getting towards the crescendo, because when you hit that point, it begins to mirror, and so you want to make sure you're tying up all the things that introduce, and we'll see how much we introduce right here. So it's Tony Stanza, a young man of medium build, paces in the shadows outside the Philadelphia Zoo, muttering to himself. It's not right that they keep them in there. A quokka belongs in the wild. I want to make sure they live free. The quiet parking lot doesn't respond as Tony scales the fence, but a camera high in the air above his head watches him with its unblinking eye. The young man drops into the zoo's undergrowth as security guards move towards his location with their flashlights on. Tony belly crawls through the dirt as silently as he can towards the marsupial exhibit. If they didn't want to get broken into, they shouldn't have kidnapped the helpless animals and used them as slaves for entertainment. His words are cut short as the guard swings his flashlight directly onto Tony's spot. The young man freezes, unable to breathe, as the guard pushes through the brush to where Tony is. Oh, geez. Okay, it starts negative. Okay, that makes sense. You see how it ties in all the real grumbler, what he wants, how it's physically happening, how he's getting worked into a frenzy, and then faces the judgment of others. We're trying to like create moments that satisfy those 11 things, and I think it does a pretty good job. It creates these moments that are kind of like vibrant. There's a lot going on in them. What your goal is to create like a real snapshot of life. And so these prompts, in my opinion, and this is the reason a story calculator exists, is to make sure that whatever story you're telling, it has this like vibrancy to it. Maybe I'm just a gifted writer, and I don't think it's true at all. Because I think if you ask it, my friends, they'll tell you that I believe that I'm an idiot. But I believe that I'm an idiot, and that's why I created this device, is so that I can be dumb, or anyone who is, as dumb as I am, or dumber. I don't know. It's pretty easy to use, and so as long as you like, look at the prompts and try to work to do it, you can create stuff that's fun. I can come and work on this project when I'm tired. I can come work on this project when I don't know even what the story is anymore because it's been like months since I've worked on it. I can come work on this project, when I'm just trying to like cool off from other things that I'm thinking about. It just gives you a way to like jump in and be like, okay, so what are my goals specifically? What am I trying to do? So the guards have discovered him, and here's the next part of the story. Tony leaps to his feet with his hands in the air, shouting, "Don't shoot, I'm unarmed." And two guards grab him and drag him out of the brush, Tony's toes dragging in the dirt as he tries to break himself in any way possible. Oh, jeez, Tony. The guards, however, keep him aloft. He's like, "How do you sleep at night, knowing you have innocent, sentient animals trapped in cages for children's amusement?" Tony yells loudly. "I hope you live alone and you die alone, childless." Oh, jeez. The guards say nothing, joined by another pair of guards who throw the zoo gates open, the first pair setting Tony gently down outside the gates. "We've told you before, Tony," one guard says, "and we're telling you again. The quokkas are fine. Please stop visiting after hours." They go inside, closing the gate. Oh, dang. Okay. So as far as the negatives go, that's not real negative. You might want to relook at that a little bit. Um, Okay, so we got a little scowling at the physical. Maybe we'll have him actually throw them. I really wanted him to throw them, but then I thought maybe we won't do that because they're soldering. But we can have them understand them and be tired of his shenanigans. So, okay, so we're gonna have him open the zoo's gate. Because we're going to find out at the end, or like we find out in a second that they get in trouble for it. Oh, spoilers! Sorry if you're listening for the first time. It's your first podcast. Um, yeah, did I not describe what we're doing? Yeah, we're using a story calculator to create a story. I'm doing it live so you can understand how the prompts work and how they all work together. Right now, we're getting through the stuff that we did in the previous episode as a way to kind of review and check to see if we did our work. You know what I mean? Because it's okay to judge you in the past as long as you're working on the you in the present now to be better. Um, and you're not doing it just to hurt yourself. So I think that's fair to say. Guards say nothing joined by care. Another pair of guards who opens his gates. First pair, throw. Yep. Throw. Tony. To the ground. Outside the gates, yeah. And they're like, we told you before, one guard says. We're telling you again, the Quokkas are fine. Stop visiting after hours. Because you're gonna. So the sondering part, of course, is that they know. And I think that there's a difference between knowing and empathizing. And that's more along the lines of what sondering means. There is a trait that allows them to empathize, but sondering is more just like the acknowledgement that people have different points of view. Um, I remember that we had a pattern that we had going, and it's right there. And I will try to continue it as we move forward. Um, Gotcha. So here is what happens next. They throw him outside, and they go inside, closing the gate. So that makes it feel more negative. Now I've gotten this question from the very beginning of when this was born. While I was working on it with my then at the time wife. While I was developing it, we were married, and we were obviously living together when we were married. And so I was explaining it to her, and we were using like rudimentary ones that were under development at that time. And so one of the first questions that has happened a lot is like, what is a negative, right? And so, in my opinion, a negative is something that makes the audience feel bad, while a positive is, or will feel bad for the character or for the situation, right? When they go ooh, is when you get a negative, because that's the whole point of what we're writing is to get audience reactions, right? I mean, that's the whole point of entertainment. Um, and then positives are when they go, oh, this is fun, like this is not what I was expecting at all, this is going places that I enjoy. And so the idea of telling a story is you like make them feel bad, and you make them feel good, and you make them feel good in the next scene, and you make them feel bad again, and they go, oh no, oh no, but you don't keep them there. Like an amusing story is about oscillation, like running between two poles. And I think it's true not just with stories, but with all forms of art, is you want to be like exploring two poles. And that's why we have two themes that we're constantly going through. But this is one of the very basic ones that's in this machine, is as you go through a scene, you keep your audience feeling bad until you hit the crescendo, and then you make them feel good. And then they get out of the scene and they feel good, and they remember that scene as being good versus bad. But you can't have one without the other, or you have just very dull scenes. And then so when you intentionally like push the charge, basically, negative or positive is basically a physics, conversation, in the directions that you want to, you can use it for interesting things. Comment below if you don't understand that explanation, because it's okay, because this is probably a new idea for you, as it's probably a new idea for most people. So by asking a question, you're probably asking something that someone else is thinking of, or maybe can't quite put their into words, or whatever. And like I said, it's okay to ask questions about this specifically because I recognize that it's been devised fairly recently, and you may have had exposure to some of this, but not all of it, because it compiles a bunch of things that have previously existed, and as far as I can tell, not in this configuration. Please ask away. I'd be happy to, in the comments, give you any explanation that I can. Okay, that takes all the fun out of the story that we're reading, but we're doing an editing session right now, and at one point at the end, especially at the end of the scene, we'll give it a read through so we can celebrate it all together. But for now, what we know is that he broke into the Philadelphia Zoo and he got caught. And then he gave himself up and he got thrown out anyway. Um, he sassed them the whole time, of course, too, because that's the type of dude that we found out that Tony is. Um, and then we see this moment about, it's being a lovable rogue. He's on a surveillance photo. It's about who he is. It's on the longer side because it's in 8. It's going to turn negative. It's about him, the social world that he's influencing. It's about people telling lies and how entropy gets us all kind of, how like energy can only exist in a burst, and then there's a steady decline afterwards. That's what entropy is. Um, so it's like every man and woman on security detail reports to the main office at once. A voice barks over the zoo's loudspeakers. Oh God, we should put this. That was thinking that we should put this in the front. So it's like this. So I don't know if I have told you guys. Maybe I have. And if this is your first episode, then this will be the first time. But if not, maybe you can cherish it with me. But the reason I wanted to do a story format like this is because my mom and my dad used to both read to us like a lot. Like so, there's a lot of stories that I've heard read aloud, and so writing a story, writing something new that I feel like they would read to me as a kid, or like they would read to like my niece, was kind of like the idea with this project. I think it's like writing content for them has been kind of my goal within the last like couple of years. Simply for that sake, like they really wanted to have stories that were like wholesome, and that they could laugh about. They taught lessons, and so like writing content for like my parents has been like what I've been trying to like the goal of the story calculator. You can use it for whatever you want to, because it'll always give you a balanced like temperament exploration of the story. But yeah, that's one of the things that I do specifically, just because those are some of my greatest memories. Like like having a person like spend this time to tell you the story from somebody else who spent the time to put it down and made sure it made sense. Like there's just this like huge magic thing that's happening. Like the same way that music, when you hear music, it like erupts in your brain, right? Like these like vibrations. Well, somebody somewhere else hallucinated, and then they wrote down their hallucinations, and then they put it in a place that was secret, like all by itself, and it can sit there for a long, long period of time until somebody else picks it up, and then they get the hallucinations in their brain. And then when somebody reads it to you, it's the hallucinations that are passed on auditorily to your brain, like somebody wrote from a long time ago. And in some ways, that is one of the reasons I think I became an artist and like that sort of thing, because my parents and family, they really cherish like artistry. Um, and like there's this idea though that you can live almost indefinitely. It's just as long as your book is still around or your piece is still around, you exist in some small part. Like at least the hallucination that you had at one point exists, and that's like an observation of your internal world, right? So anyway, I forget how I got on this. Oh, right, because I love to tell stories. I was also, this is like a cute little story. And so I think it's living up to the par. But let's see what happens next. A voice barks over the zoo's loudspeakers. Every man and woman and the security detail report to the main office at once. All the guards look grimly at each other before heading to the front. Dang. A thin, dark-skinned black man walks with a Mongolian guard. Why'd you all let him go? Didn't the captain say hold him? Let who go? The other man asks. They file into a small office. 24 men and women shoulder to shoulder before a small man with a bushy mustache who slaps a grainy black and white image on the desk. He's here. We have evidence he breached the perimeter, the little man shouts. Where is he? Why isn't he here in handcuffs? One of the guards, a large Filipino woman, pipes up. I don't know, boss. He just got away. He's a slippery one. Very fast. All the other guards murmur in agreement, their boss fuming. So the intruder activated the main gate themselves, the mustache man yells at them, and all the guards nod solemnly. A goateed man, Mexican, says, I think it's a hacker, boss. .com. The little man stands, coming around his desk, and all the guards shrink to make room for him. He steps even closer to them, squishing them uncomfortably into each other as he leans in to whisper, "If it happens again, none of you will be working here any longer. You are only my employees because our insurance company requires someone to stand between the public and our possibly rampaging animals. Since we already have your lives insured, it's better for us if you can't outrun anything and I could find a ton of bodies to fill your uniforms. You are dismissed." The guards don't look at each other. Their faces grim as they file out of the office one by one. Oh, damn, dude. Yeah, now you know why we love Tony, even though he's talking all that trash, because this guy's a dick. Oh man, I forgot about this guy. This is really fun. Okay, this is a blast. I can't believe past us, set this up for present me. Um, and this is kind of the joy of working with a story calculator. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what happens next, but that's a real fun setup. I'll tell you that. Um, let's figure out first off how much space we have. So this is a three, so it's a real short one. I believe that threes in the format we're using is like a 2.7 or something like that. But here we are looking for sure. 18 seconds. Yeah, it's 18 seconds of 60, and we're going for like an average of like page per minute kind of representation. It's not always correct, as I've said before, but um, it's better than, I mean, it's close. It's close enough. Especially for this, like as you can see, we're not even writing this in a script format like I was supposed to do, um, because even with my own work, I'm rebellious, you know. Um, so um, that's how that goes. Uh, it is a 2.7, and for that, I figured it would just be fun just to write like a little story in this format to kind of show off what an episode could look like. Um, and then I don't know, it was kind of an experiment because I think that this format is set to a 23-minute runtime, just like a Cox in Space episode. So I was just curious to see what it would actually come up to if we did it in like, I don't know, story format. Granted, it's slightly different because you have to format for the size of the pages because they're not 9.5 by 11. But yeah, I'm interested in what the rough draft even would be coming up in. So that is all well and good. Let's measure this out. When I first started doing measurements like this, I don't know if I mentioned this to this on this podcast specifically, but they didn't have rulers on the sides of Google Docs, which was weird. Um, and so I requested it, and then shortly after it was there. I'm not claiming to be the person who did that, but I am glad that I'm glad that it showed up because it's really handy. Because what I'm measuring for this three is 2.7 inches, and that's how much space we're going to use. So having the ruler on the side's handy. Before I was measuring like half a page and a quarter of a page, kind of like distance on fingers. And it was just, I mean, it was approximate like most of this is, and it worked, but it was still, it was a pain. It was a pain to be like, is how accurate is that anyway? Um, it's like taking someone's temperature by putting your hand on their head, being like, yep, you're warm, I guess, so that's a point 0.5. And we're going to go down to, I really, really want to ultimately get this so that we can have precision in the document so it's measuring it for you and you never have to measure it for yourself. And it's breaking it down basically like the average number of characters you can have in that space versus the amount of space room. So then you could have any format that you wanted to do in that space, and it'd still approximately fit. Um, the challenge of having, this variance is really nice in my opinion, even though some people will find it at first kind of tedious. I've definitely worked it with a few people now, and they do find it tedious at first. Um, but I think putting a challenge in your way as a creative person is always good because that means you have to like you can't get stuck in a rut because that's the quickest thing to kill like creative. endeavor is just be like do the thing that you've done before. Because we humans, like, we do like the thing that we've done before, but we also want to see something new. And that's why we return to like series and stuff like that, is because we know the characters, but we want to see the adventures of these characters. So let me just check in real quick here that we're all good. All right, cool. So we have this much space here. It's kind of ending on like a 2.2, so let's call that kind of like there, and then we've got this space. So this moment is a short one. It's about the Quokka, which is fun. We're finally getting to the little beast himself, because what we've seen here is you see, and I'm not sure if you're seeing. Let me change the sharing real quick for the Discord if you guys are tuning in. Let me see if I can get this to, and then we're gonna go pow like this instead. So I'm going to show the entire screen so you can just follow along with me. I realize I'm switching between a couple of different tabs and you might not have been able to see what I was up to here. And you get to see the mouse too here, I believe. So what I'm going to do is this might make things a little bit more messy. But here, okay, so as you see, we're here, we were looking at the Grumbler, we saw that he was scowling, and then we saw that he was on a surveillance photo. And you see how, what I wanted to do from the beginning was just stick to the simple story and just tell a simple story. A lot of people who I've told this idea to will argue with me from the jump. And you might be in the comments, you might be doing it too. You're welcome to, please comment why you think it won't work. But they will argue that no story, a novel or a film or whatever, can't be told on a story that's only as simple as 6 ideas, right? That's what I've been told many, many times. And I'm pointing out here, just that you can, and it's really easy. And it's like so it's really helpful because this is just the first scene, but it continues to like keep you on track as you go through it. That's the thing I'm going to say. There's these other engines here that are running on the right that are also really helpful, and they do a bunch of different things to like put spin on the story so that it makes it so it's fun to look at and fun to listen to, in my opinion. But like this keeps you on track so it doesn't like go too far off. I had a friend, her name, I'm going to call her out personally because I haven't been able to talk to her in ages because we fell out of touch because I went through a period of being a massive dick to everybody. But her name is Lindsay Moscato. And she was around when I was first developing this concept. And she said that stories that I was writing in a previous iteration to the device that we're using now, like like a decade ago, almost 2 decades ago. She said it didn't have a ballast to it. And so that got me to thinking a lot before I had like the initial like view of like what this thing is. Um, you can read about this in my book again, wigwags.us. It's called Making the Moment. But I had a dream in which I saw the symbol, which that details why you need to do this and how it like holds the story together. But this is the thing, is that this is what creates the ballast to bring it all back into one piece. Is that you can see that the story we're telling, the thing I just read you, is about a grumbler who's scowling on a surveillance photo. But the things that we put into it with all these extra engines are the things that gave it something even more. Because we know the grumbler is Tony. We know that he was scowling, and what he's scowling about is that he's mad about these quokkas, right? And then he like is kind of like even the guards are kind of okay with him being there, and then we see why that he's on a surveillance photo. That this is we're living up to the theme, but then why the guards are okay with it. Now this is really fun. We get to see the quokka themselves, or the idea of the quokka in this one. So we're coming back around. So we haven't even got to the crescendo yet. The crescendo is in the next moment because we're doing a 5-beat scene, and we're going to get into the threes, which are the crescendo paired moment, the beat that's two paired moments. Um, and so this is just where so remember, like this is the first one is fuck around, the 1A, and then 1B is find out. So this is fuck around, what happened in 2A, and then we're going to get to go into 2B. So because it's a find out, and because this one was so focused on the guards themselves, I think that we should be finding out what their relationship to this quokka is, right? And what is the deal with the situation? I think that Tony. I want to find out that Tony is right. That the quokkas are sentient and they are being imprisoned. Like I want his crazy idea to be true because one of the things that you learn in doing good comedy is this yes and concept. I'm sure if you're into any form of comedy, you've heard it to death, but maybe this is the first time for you. So yes and is that what happened in the first thing. You say, okay, I agree that it did. We both agreed that because it's been spoken out loud, it's true. Just like we see that there's this dude who's berating these guys with the mustache. Um, and then, so then what's the response to that? And then what happens next? And so that's what I'm thinking. We should use the guards and see their relationship with the Quokka. Um, let's see if I could figure out how 8575. We know it's going to have the same sort of pacing. Okay, 5, 3, 5, and then half the 8 is right there. And then 8, 3, 5. Okay, is how we did that there. So what I'm talking about right now, like I'm kind of muttering about, I apologize. I hope you can see that the where the cursor is going, is because what I'm trying to do is have the paragraph structure be the same pacing as the story structure itself. I'm going to just mention that this is the reason that you shouldn't be doing this in the form that I'm doing it. You should be using G5 or G25 to do what I'm doing right now. Because what it does for you is it breaks down these paragraphs into prompts themselves. So I'm doing this, like I said, because I'm being kind of rebellious. I also hadn't, at the point that I started this, I think it was like a month and a half ago or something like that, doing this project, I hadn't built conceptually. I knew how it would work, but I hadn't actually like taken the time to build like a G5 or a G25. I'm sorry, a G5 is when you put five Georges together, and then they have the same proportionate length to each other as a George does. So a George has a 5-3-8-3-5 structure as far as like scene length goes, and so five Georges together has a George that is your standard like five. It's 20. I feel like the ideal is 24, honestly, and then it's a third, 3/5 of 24, and then eight fifths of 24 is how that works. Um, so you guys are like, yeah, that's way too much information. Thanks. And so yeah, so basically it's like that. And then a G25 is five G5s done in the same way. So that you see how I'm like kind of like freeballing out here with all these like big paragraphs, and I'm having to build the structure itself so I can have it. You don't have to worry about that if you have a G5 or a G25. If you guys want that structure because you're working on something that's bigger than like a series or like short fiction, like you're working on like a screenplay that's a longer screenplay, or if, like a 2-hour screenplay, or if you're working on a novel, yeah, just message me, private message me, or like reach out from like Cox and Space or whatever, and yeah, you can get that. I can talk to you about how you want to use it. It's real fun. It just keeps you on track, so you don't have to do what I'm doing right now, like I was saying. Um, but I don't mind doing this. It's just it's going to take more time, and then honestly, if I would have been more planned, I wouldn't have to be muttering here right now, being like, oh yes, the 5, the 3, the 8. Oh yes, so good. So 5, 3. Because it gets tricky. Because I think what I was deciding to do, okay, it's not as tricky as I thought it was. What I was deciding to do was do it in paired moments. So you're doing basically like doing a George within each paired moment, which would make the most sense actually. And then, but it's ones like this, so you really have to be like clench your butthole to squeak it in, because this one is an 8 and then there's a 3 in response to it. So it did half 8, so it does an 8-3-5 in this amount of space. which I don't think I did previously. Oh, actually I did. It's gonna be something like this. It's gonna be a 4, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 4, 3, 5. I'll take it. Um, okay. I'm actually taking off my hoodie for the second time during this podcast because, I get stressed because I'm like, it's gotta work. I've got to make this happen. And then I get chilly again because it's November. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I should probably have my hoodie on. But I'll tell you again when I put it on. It's not going to be that long from now, actually. Um, so this is about the quokka. It's about the relationships that people have in a negative way with the quokka. Oh, okay. So it might be about the little man instead, and how they're being controlled and nothing in the void. Okay, so we're gonna have this happen. Okay, it's like the little man, or like the mustache man, right? The mustache man turns uh, out, returns to his desk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so he returns to his desk. And yeah, because okay, this is the idea of what I'm thinking. Let me just describe it before I get too involved with it. Uh, is that he's like so the quokka to him. The reason he's so opposed to our hero Tony is because the quokka to him is like his prized possession. Like he's hoarding it, like like a dragon's egg or something, because he knows that it's like Instagram gold or something. You know what I mean? And so like that's that's why like he has the only reason the zoo's staying afloat is because this freaking quokka. And so I think that like puts the stakes at a really like fun level because then it makes like Tony's right, and then at the same time like there's this guy who doesn't want to like let this sentient beautiful creature be free. And what could happen? I don't know. We have a machine that sets that up. I don't have to figure it out right now. We can figure it out as we get there. It makes things fun in that way. So uh, here we go. Mustache Man returns to his desk, uh, like pulling up the Quokka's uh, security feed, pulling the Quokka's. Yeah, it's got to be Quokka's security feed up on his computer. Okay, so it's a 4, right? Um, oh man, it's saying all these things are wrong. Mustache Man returns to his desk and pulls. Gotcha, thank you. Yep. It pulls the Quokka security feed up on his. I'm about this. I really am because I think too many thoughts that I put them all together on the page, and then they don't make sense later. Let's make sure that the formatting does make sense. I'm not sure why this is the default, but it should be like that. So the mustache man returns to his desk and pulls a Quokka security feed up on his computer. Uh, let's go further with it because we have 4 lines. Zooming in on the little marsupial's adorable face. Because he's a terrible little man. Now, what I'm hoping, yeah, actually, we set this up to have a good, happy ending. So, um, the the happy ending, of course, yeah, hoping this Grinch's heart's melted by the Quokka themselves. I do need to look up a Quokka fact real fast to be Quokka day animals. I think diurnal is the right word, or nocturnal. Yeah, I think. Thank you, chat. Who's in my brain? I guess I don't know. Uh, Nocturnal. Okay. Hell yes. I didn't. This is the. I wanted them to be up and around, and we're doing it, and we're doing it right. Um. So get that out the way. This is probably a good time to mention that this is a Cox and Space behind the scenes podcast. It's a different one for sure. This is to kind of explain the format that we use to write the Cox and Space and how we can continue to write the Cox and Space indefinitely, because of how it continues to keep us on track and keep us generating new ideas based off of old ideas. It's kind of what a story calculator is really good for. Um, and it gives the team something to work together on. And so that's why I'm spending these episodes to kind of focus on using it as a tool for creativity, is because it's, in my opinion, one of the most useful writing tools I've ever seen. And a little bit rough to get used to the how to use it at first, and it's hard to describe, I think, to people who aren't looking quite at it. So um, this is what this video is for. I'm doing a series, the third one in the series, where you guys can come check it out, if you're interested in how a story can come together, and how you can do that with your own ideas. So you can reach out to me at wigwags.us. You can also find me at coxinspace.com, coxinspace.com. And you can just reach out to us there. You can go onto the Discord. We're up here in the evenings quite a bit. You can also explore all the stuff that we've got going on. There's some examples of the scripts with Cox and Space. I think this still has the headers in them, so people can check those out if you're interested in that. Um, so you can always come on and check out that. There is the Facebook too. We have a bunch of different shows. The Secret Sundays is one that has the opportunity to have guests on it too. So if you're interested in coming on, just talking about what you're interested in, go up there on the Facebook, talk to Aaron about what you're interested in talking about, and we're interested in talking to you. I'm really fascinated in people and their lives and what they think and what they do. So as long as you're not hateful, please reach out. So yeah, you can also look up on our Patreon. What our Patreon does is make sure that you can get the show that we're working on, Cox and Space, to sooner and cooler and faster. Yeah, go up there, support the show. You can decide what you want to do by clicking on joining the crew. You can decide, do you want to be a cadet? Do you want to be a science officer? Do you want to be a bridge commander? Let's talk about it. It's just how much you contribute a month, and we can get this ball rolling. That says that you want to be involved, so shows that you want to be involved. You can also be involved on this video just by commenting and being like, dude, stop talking so much and start writing more. Or hey, this idea is really cute, and I think that this is the kind of thing that could happen. Or any of those things. Just reach out, because that helps out too. That brings us up in the algorithm. If you're watching the video through and you're like, you know what, I want more of this stuff, click a like. And that helps promote us too. So that's helping as much as going to the Patreon. We like both. Help us if you can socially, help us if you can financially, help us if you can mentally. Because when you comment and share, it's one of those things where we're like, yes, okay, cool. We want to bring more of the type of content that you enjoy and that you want your friends to enjoy with you. So again, reach out, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we're here with you. That's what we're doing out here on the Cox and Space. I think I've said enough for that. Again, check it out, coxinspace.com, coxinspace.com. Check me out, Skip Marazzi, your host and friend for the evening, at wigwags.us. I've got a bunch of cool Wigwags merchandise, or you can get stickers and shirts for just to keep the keep the lights on, the servers running, and then you can pick up the book, of course. There's ways too, once you get connected on my Shopify, where if you want to hire me to come work on a project with you, you totally can, reasonable prices. And you get you get a bigger discount the more you buy. So if you know it's going to take a while, you want someone who's coming on with you, let me know. I'll do it for a group of people or for one. So we can do in-group meetings where it's feasible and you have the finances to do that. We can connect on Discord or Zoom or something like that, in the ways that makes it more financially affordable. So check that out, and we're going to get back to Quokka Quokka. So it was right in the middle of the thought, but see how useful it is to just have this tool available, right? Where it's like, okay, so we know it's in response to what we just saw, right? He calls everyone into the office, and then they don't give up this guy who broke in, which is interesting, but then he still He like threatens to fire them. We're like, oh God, you know. Um, so um, the mustache man returns to his desk and pulls the Quokka security feed up on his computer, zooming in on the little marsupial's adorable face. Okay, gotcha. That is laying it on pretty thick, but we're gonna have to spoil that. So, the Quokka, the relationship with how it's socially, then they're being controlled, and then nothing, the void. Okay, they are up and about. Okay. Um, so the how about the Quokka waves up at the camera and the yeah, I typed the twice and I also said the twice and the little man. Use little twice. How do we feel about that? Mustache Man returns to his desk and pulls a Quokka security feed up on his computer, zooming in on the little marsupial's adorable face. Let's do this. Let's take that out because it's bothering me anyway. We were slathering on with the adjectives. So zooming in on the marsupial's adorable face. Ooh, okay. The Quokka waves up to the camera and the little man smiles, his eyes sparkling. Right? We're like, oh, does he have a soul? Is he a human? And like, no, we're about to find out here. We're gonna flip it up. Uh, he's like, you are making me so, so wealthy. Right? Uh, so wealthy, little man. Your chubby face, right? Now, uh, this is kind of the rough. Again, remember this is the rough. So like some of the language, the movement might be clunky. It's the sort of thing that I would want a friend of mine to go through on Cox and Space. We have a friend of mine. I'm not sure if he's still in the audience, but yeah, Logan Gifford, who comes on after we do it and like really like pulls like lines together. It's helpful because this is the opportunity just to like get the ideas out so you have the shape of them in the same way that if you were sculpting something you get the rough shape of it and then you move into like sand down and refine and everything like that in the second moves. So that's what this is. I think I've quoted Jordan Peele before, who said that, you know, the first draft of the script is just getting all the sand in the sandbox. The second draft is making sure that you build the sandcastle. Uh, so, you know, it's like what material are you going to use? Because once you have that material out, this helps you generate all that material. Then you have the ability to shape it. And so, anyway, Mustache Man returns. Gotcha. Quaco waves up at the camera, and the little man smiles, his eyes sparkling. He's like, "You're making me so, so rich." I guess that was to excuse the way that the line was awkward, being like, "Go get it later." But there's something to be said for create now and then edit second, right? Like so, don't sleep on that. To like ruin your flow can be rough, especially if you get as you're just trying to get started. Getting it down the paper is good. You have plenty of time to edit, probably the rest of your life. Even after it becomes a thing that people watch all the time, they'll quote it back to you and be like, "God damn, that's not the way the line's supposed to be said." But I should have changed it. Um, C'est la vie, right? Um, it's the same thing with anything we create. They when they have a life of their own, they do their own things afterwards. Hawk waves at the camera. The little man smiles. Oh, it doesn't even have a camera there. It's afterwards. Yep. His eyes sparkling. You're making me so so rich. He probably is gonna say his nickname. Like it's not my precious, but it's like uh my right, like my little like cash faced. I don't know. It's silly. I'm not trying to put him too much into like a race. You know what I mean? Like I almost want to do him as a mob boss, but I don't want to do the Russian accent because I don't want to like sling blood on, Eastern Europeans of any sort of that accent could be, skewed to. That was a lot of dancing around some words. So what I mean is I'm not trying to be racist. And I understand about, not punching down. Uh, but also there's greedy little fucks wherever they can be any nationality. And actually, my concept for this little character was this one. I don't know if they probably aren't listening to this podcast, but it would be cool if they heard it. But his name is Hayek. He's a little balding dude with a mustache. He's a cartoon character who's a YouTuber who's drawn by a YouTuber who's been around for like a while. Like if you're into animation, you've seen this guy's stuff. He's definitely making sure that he's putting in money towards advertising. He's doing good work. If we could work with him, it would be awesome. The guy, I'm stoked. He was looking for a writer a little while ago, and I like shouted out. I was like, "Hey, bro, if you want to write, I can get you writing." He did not respond, but I'm sure he's well known enough. A lot of people are probably pitching him, so I don't take that personally. But it would be fun. I could give him that. We're looking for an animator who is able to be versatile. He does some really good work. So it would be fun to see what he would do with the Cox of Space. I think he would definitely honor Jack's style, if not specifically his artwork. So I think if he and Jack collabed, they they would have exactly what we're looking for. Anyway, that was just a little musings, and that's who I was thinking of as a zookeeper. Anyway, I just thinking some thoughts. So it's not racist so much that the character is I don't know I don't know what his nationality is. It's not American originally, but he's American now. His father or grandfather came here or something. I don't know. He's a funny character. That's why I wanted to make him like this mad little man. Um, so you're making me so rich. I'm leaning into it. You don't have to for the text, but since you're here, you're gonna have to hear it because I think it's what's stopping me from being able to write this line is because I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. So the people are like, oh, why is he doing that stereotype? But here it is. It won't be in the text, but you're making me so rich. Yeah, see, that's what we needed. A little like that. Um, every day, families flock to you to take your picture, and I take their money. Yeah, yeah. Right, see what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need to do a voice. It's like the mustache man. Uh, to everyday families. Oh, okay. Flock. To you. No crap. You know what? That was supposed to be a four. I got a little bit carried away. Um, we could. So we need. That's gonna be the next. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I like this is, and actually, it can end right there. The ha ha ha. Ha ha. Then we're gonna have him take an action, which will break the new paragraph up. This is one of the things that I like to, if you're using a G25, it's going to give you this more broken and jagged lines. It's something that my dad pointed out at one point when I was working on some stuff, is because I was writing to like fill each line fully, because I wanted to have what I considered like um, perfect lines, like perfect um, anyway, like you weren't getting more than you were entitled to, and you weren't getting any less. Like I wasn't gypping you as far as the author, but I wasn't making their dangling lines that really like bothered me. They do if they're not intentional and it's ragged and all over the place. If you see it in text, if it's like taking up a whole like line, but there's just one word, I'm just like, why? Why don't you just edit that so that you didn't have all that weird space in the text because it like makes the flow of the book feel weird. Anyway, Um, so I did. I wrote a portion of a book that I think it was like the first three chapters or something like that, maybe four, up to like 80 pages or something, with this like what I consider perfect spacing. And on the page it looked. Have you ever seen like in a cartoon or whatever when you're looking at a book and it's just like lines and all the lines are like all like across the page? That's what it looked like. But it was actually the words were just like perfectly spaced out, right? Like I was using sentences that were only working within that time frame. And I accomplished the goal, right? And I thought that that was cool and everything. But then at the same time, like I was like, oh no, like what my dad pointed out was it doesn't look natural. Like it doesn't look like people write. And I was like, oh, right, of course, right? Because first of all, the world is fractally, so it's not going to be like perfectly four like this one. It's going to be, three and some change or four and some change, right? So that it was broken up like that. And then so I was able to just make that balance with the other moments so that they mirrored each other and they had the same proportions and stuff. The novels that I wrote after that, I'd say novels. They're two drafts of the same novel. With one is significantly longer of a draft than the two of them, but I spent some time on them, like a year. They have that fractal pacing instead, and they work much better for that. There's some very beautiful ways that you can use prose like poetry when you're writing this way, because then you can have one word dangling that is at the end of your sentence that is everything. You know what I mean? So the fractal like breaks in such a way that it like emphasizes, it uses that one word to emphasize. And so in that way, it wasn't just random. And I really felt like it was using that dangling line that annoyed me so much for a purpose. And in that case, it wasn't bad. Um, anyway, that is neither here nor there, as I don't have it. But I mean, I do have that novel. You can check it out. It's on the Discord if you subscribe to that novelization. That happens up on the Discord. It's a separate project that's going on, and then also the original novel is on the Wigwags channel, which you can find. It's called "She Came from Nowhere." That one is an audiobook, so you're not going to be able to see the pacing, but you should be able to feel it. Is the idea. All right. So the actual story that we're working on, and not just some thoughts about story calculus in general, but I figured you're here for both, right? Because you would like to understand what this whole Dagon thing is. So, in three lines, we're trying to accomplish this. It's like every day, families flock to you to take your picture, and I take their money. Uh, let's see. So being controlled, nothing, the void. Um, so okay, it's got to be negative, nothing to void, being controlled. Um, so yeah, the the it's like the mustached man pulls up his pulls up the zoo's social media and uh, searches the hashtag. This is so stupid because it's like I don't know if it's like lasting literature at this point because it's so like grounded in this time and place, or if people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's you can see he's being like really calling out his times. It's classic. It's a classic 2020s motif for online literature at the time. I don't know. I'm just whatever. Sometimes I think about how we're the ancient history of future civilizations and how strange that is, that the record that we're leaving here at this time. The mustache man pulls up the zoo's social media and searches the hashtags for. Um, oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it definitely doesn't work. I've completely gone over the distance I was supposed to go to 2.2. It's like right here. Um, that might be why it's feeling weird. Because it's supposed to end. It's not supposed to go further, which means I didn't get the thing I was supposed to. As far as that pacing goes, um, because it says 435, but that doesn't seem right somehow. Is it because, yeah, it's because of this. Let me make sure that I'm getting it all in the space here, because you see the header bumped down. It's taking up more space than it was up there. It didn't stay where it was supposed to for some reason. So, okay, so there's two right there. Five would be three, and then, or three would be that half, and then get that little extra. So it's actually right there, and that makes more sense. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to get a five in there. Um, 3, 2. All right, so must mention that man, then we'll be able to get this in. We'll figure out what that next one is in a second. Everyday families flock to you to take your picture. So we need to do this. Actually, we're going to. The mustache man pulls up the zoo social media. We'll make that the lead in. So we're like, oh, okay, the void, this whole thing that doesn't make any sense to this Quokka at all, right? Um, and he's like, every day families flock to you to take your picture, and I take some money, right? Uh, he searches um, hashtag. So stupid. I don't. I mean, it's so stupid. This is like a thing that we write about now. Um, like Philadelphia. It changed fonts. This is fantastic. Oh no, it didn't. It's italic. Philadelphia Zoo Quokka. Um, so I think I mentioned at the start of this. I'll just call it out again. The reason that this is happening at the Philadelphia Zoo is because I have a story written, the first scene for a story written called Cat Girl and the Derp, and it takes place at the Philadelphia Zoo for the specific reason that they keep dogs. They did at one time keep dogs at the Philadelphia Zoo to herd the elephants. Um, so if you see, you're like, oh, there's this, connection. That's why. And I think it's funny. I don't know. Hopefully, the Philadelphia Zoo is doing good as a zoo. Like they're not being bad to animals and stuff like that. And that they're, you know, I don't know. I don't know them. I hope to support them. We'll see. Maybe at one point I'll go there and check it out to see how it feels. The mustache man pulls in the zoo social media. Everyday families flock to you to take your picture, and I take their money. He searches Philadelphia Zoo Quokka, and then and smiles at the likes he's getting. All right, there. That's kind of the thing I want to do. Like the Quokka is definitely being exploited. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all right, we can squeak it in. We can squeak it in here. Um, so. And maybe that 5 is a 2.5 because we're splitting it, or no, they actually got the 5 in there. Dang, that's a lot of space it's taking up, but for some reason I'm not getting. 1, 2. Oh yeah, because I blew this. I totally, the size of this 3 is way too much. It's probably a 2.5. Um, so it's like, um, 1, 2, 5, and a 7. It's not over by much. It's over by like one extra line. So I'm just gonna do this, cut this back a little bit. The quokkas are fine. Stop visiting after hours. They close the gate. So, okay, gotcha. Because that's closer again to where you need it to be. 1, 2, and then half right there. Yeah. So it is kind of like 2.5. Yeah. Why don't we go? They throw tune to the ground outside the gates. The quokka's fine. Stop visiting after hours. Something like that. The quokka's fine. Stop visiting after hours. It's like, yeah. How about they just respond because it is specifically about the quokka? Gotcha. Because this puts it in the right place. The quokka's fine. They say closing the gates. Yeah. Um, People will get mad about this too. Like they'll say like, why can't you just write however you want to? Why all the structure? Why are you so this? And for one, it's because for me it feels better to know that I'm creating exactly what I'm intending to. So same thing with the words that I'm choosing, and that make sure that you keep the story on track. I think that's responsible to your viewers. Um, that if there's people who are reading it or watching it, you should be giving them like a part of a story that they can understand and follow, and that concludes, that doesn't just wander off like a kid talking about a dream, because that seems responsible from the storyteller. Uh, so right, and so like make sure that what you're saying has meaning, that um, what you're presenting isn't just babble. So, um, and that's so with the pacing is the idea that you want to present things in a way that are not monotonous. So you don't have a series of long thoughts or a series of panicked thoughts. Um, People could say you write in your own natural voice, which is fine. Some people do. Chuck Palahniuk has a very distinct voice that he writes in, and you gotta love it for that. Um, but at the same time, how do doing something that you're only doing it? What am I trying to say specifically? Um, you can also do it intentionally. Everybody can do it intentionally. And one of the things that I started with a story calculator was understanding that you need like average sizes to work from, because then you could have short sizes and long sizes. And then that would give you enough variation, say in a George, so you have an average size, a short size, a long size, a short size, and then an average size. So that has like this like accordion feeling to it, right? Like it's like starts out normal, shrinks down, grows, shrinks down, becomes normal again. And then it's a good way to present information, it turns out. I didn't necessarily understand that when I started working on that idea, but that was kind of the concept, is that um, when you have bigger moments like we did previously, you find out more stuff, right? If you look back here, he's like on a surveillance photo. We find out this huge bit of lore that the guy has them, he despises them, they despise him back. They're keeping this other guy safe from him, even putting their jobs on the line. And they understand clearly, and they're told on a daily basis that the only reason they're there is because somebody needs to fill their shoes. So right, the hate to 5 and 7. This keeps moving because the header above keeps moving. So it should actually be like right here now. which is cool. That would be nice if it stayed right there, because 2.7 is the goal. Um, and it looks like we could probably get another one, two, three. Yeah, I think 2.5 is what the goal is for this one. So, hmm. Um, we need to look back. We do need to make sure that n's negative. It's about being controlled. Nothing to void. Relationships, the quokka. Uh, I like where this is going with the socials. Um, we're gonna hit a minor change. What if we lean into it? Um, oh, okay, I got it. Okay, so it's like this. Um, back in Tony, Tony's apartment, like a sub basement. What do they call it? Back in Tony's, yeah, Tony's basement apartment. Yeah, basement. Yeah, apartment. Yeah, yeah. You know, the ones that they're not so much where I am or in a lot of the South that has groundwater right below the surface, but in other places they have rooms that are in the basement, and they rent out apartments there in some larger cities. It's not a great apartment. It's generally pretty dank, but they're cheap mostly. Back in Tony's basement apartment, he scrolls the Philadelphia Philadelphia Zoo's social media feed. Like commenting. All right, so in Tony's dark basement apartment, it's like no, hang on. What if it's like Tony Stews? Tony Stews in the darkness of his basement apartment, like um, the light shining, the light of his phone shining on his face. I mean, if we're going for it, right? This whole modern thing, yeah, the light of his phone shining on his face as he scrolls the Philadelphia Zoo's social media, making negative comments. He's an actual fucking troll. Okay. Um, there was, like I said, this show was based off. I can't remember. I did tell you guys at the beginning. This show was based off of a. I did a live version of the show. And I just died laughing. And it explored a different sort of version of this because the theme was flipped, and then we also had a negative ending. And I didn't like it as a show, but I wanted to see it redone, and so that's why we had the theme that we had, and that's the one we used. And I flipped it, gave it a positive ending. And so things are coming up that were different than in that original show, and this is one of them. That's why I'm laughing. It's because, oh man, that comment. I mean that he's literally trolling the Philadelphia Zoos, and that's why the guy hates him so much. It's funny. So nothing to void. I think that in the darkness of this basement apartment does have the light shining on his face. Is that being controlled. We see that he's connected here with them socially between the two of them, the relationship between the two of them, and how it all centers around that Quokka. I think that is cool how that came together. I didn't actually do that on purpose, but kind of just like keeping to these things and trying to make sure that they're all ingrained in there, kind of, or like, form as part of it, and made that happen. So that is fun. Somehow it took most of the show to write a three, but it was reading it, I think, catching up, saying hi and whatnot. I'm not sure where the time went. I hope that it has been for you an enjoyable time. Um, so um, if not, that's okay. Comment below. Tell me why you hated it. I'm down. I'm down for it. Also, um, so we have a new. Ooh, that was actually supposed to be a five. That was supposed to be half. I see. So yeah, this is actually supposed to be like. No, that's it. It's supposed to be like that. Because that's the half the large one. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay, gotcha. I think about things in a different way, but no. If that's in a three, so this is the one that should be 2.5. Yeah, yeah, so this should be here. So that's okay. Here it is. And then we're gonna extend that one a little bit. Okay, I got you. Yeah, again, guys, you'll be more excited when you're using uh, G5, G25 for all of your needs. It just lets you level up and still take care of this. Um, to his desk, he pulls a Quokka security feed up on his computer, zooming in the more visible face. The Quokka waves up at the camera. And then we don't have to do this in that weird way. He's like, so we're gonna do this every day. Uh, Families flock to you to take your picture, and I take their money. Uh, he he pulls up the zoo's social media because this is so he pulls up his social media and searches. Ooh, what is happening? This is so. It shouldn't be doing this spacing like this. Why is it? Why is it doing that? So like I know you like. Like I don't. Oh, because it's trying to deal with this, which is all one word. Key. Every day families flock to you to take a picture and they take their money. He pulls up his social media and searches the term. I think we can get here. Smiling. At the likes he's getting. At the likes the zoos. The zoo. The zoo is. Yeah, there is. Smiling at the likes. Let me just put it in like this. That might help out. Tony stews in the darkness. Okay, cool. No, we'll do that. Um, and then we're going to make this a 5. Tony stews in the darkness of the basement apartment. The light on his phone scrolls filled with his social media, making negative comments. Free the Quokka. He types. Let's say, I think I want to call him Arnold. Deshay? Deshay? It's social, right? Yeah, he's a crooked. Bureaucrat. Yeah, that's not how you spell that word at all. Um, Bureau. Okay, gotcha. Bureaucrat. Who lines his pockets with the tax payers' money. I think I said 2.7 is where it's supposed to be. That's kind of there because I was hoping to get that 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Um, I think the other three, because he should be, approximately the same size and shape. Oh crap, that three is a mess. They're all the same size, are approximately the same size. 4, 3, 3. Oh, has that happened? Okay, yeah, that really should be. Look, ultimately, at the end of the day, this sort of stuff, while I worry about it and try to make it happen, it's not super gonna affect your story, the flow of your story. Now, to small degrees, yes, you want to make sure you continue to have short, medium, long, in not that order, but in a way that creates variety and creates this pacing, right? Medium, short, long, short, me short, medium, right? So that they can have that pacing. And then ideally you would want to have it in the text too so it does it. I'm trying to do that so we can have that feeling. But as you can see, because we have those halves up there, it's a three, it's a three, it's a five. In some cases, especially like in the George, in the middle of the George, you have four average size moments that happen right back to each other. And so to have stuff like that is like it's a way that it calls that the rhythm is breaking intentionally. And so it's nice. So when you do hit this and you don't cheat at it, you get some really nice results from it. So that's why I advocate for continuing to follow this. Me personally didn't want to necessarily follow the rules. As you see, even the way that I'm writing this, not necessarily following all the rules. Um, but I will tell you that as a person who made these up and doesn't necessarily like all the rules, they are worthwhile because it does make interesting moments occur. And interesting moments in a series is an interesting story. So that's kind of the goal. Um, Mustache Man returns to his desk and pulls the Quokka security feed up on his computer, zooming in on the marsupial's adorable face. Every day, families flock to you to take your picture, and I take their money. He pulls up his social media and searches the term Philadelphia Zoo Quokka, smiling at the likes the zoo is getting. It's so sick and slimy. Tony stews in the darkness of his basement apartment, the light of his phone shining on his face as he scrolls the Philadelphia Zoo's social media feed, making negative comments. He's like, free the quaggas. He types, Arnold Deshay is a crooked bureaucrat who lines his pockets with taxpayers' monies. Uh, the He's like on another post. He types. He posts a meme of a crying quokka. Okay, and that's kind of the thing that I want. Um, just just the ones moments that make you laugh, and so that's kind of a goal, right? Um, so I'm going to measure this one off. This unfortunately will be such a flub of an ending. We are in the last like 5 minutes, so this is kind of like our wrap up. So, generally, we take a look over the whole course of the show. You know, that's kind of the idea anyway. I think about that. What we think should be said with these. I guess one of the big things I would like to give you as a takeaway is to look at how we spent 90 minutes just so that I could get this one moment written. And personally, I'm sitting here being like, oh, dang, I was just talking about, how you got to create like quality, you've got to give to your audience, so that, it's of value. And I agree with that. Also, sometimes creating things takes time. So, don't sweat so much. One of the reasons that I wanted to post videos like these, like doing the drawing or like making the music, doing the animation cells for the animatic, doing watching a story be written, is so that you kind of get the sense that it doesn't happen in a day. There's no fast forward for creativity. AI is cool. I like it a lot. I think it's a cool tool. And I think that in a lot of ways it's going to be cool as large language models develop into things that can kind of keep track of lifelong conversations, I think that will be really, really helpful for humanity to have like, you know, guardians like that in ways. Um, at the same time, um, it takes time to do the work. You have to, even AI was built on, someone feeding it all of these responses so it could get this information. So, um, you know, there's no there's no fast forwarding getting stuff done. Just if you're gonna do good work, you're gonna do it. You have to do it. Somebody somebody has to do it, whether it's you or somebody in Africa, who is feeding the prompts to call out, where artificial intelligence, um, quote unquote, comes from is slave labor. So, um, we are looking at this being at 538, and it should be something, kind of like this, 534. This would be kind of what you would expect. Um, I don't know if that's what fives have been so much. One, two, three, four, five. Okay. They're a little bit longer, it looks like. But it does have a three and a five. Okay. Um, interesting. So, also, yeah, I mean, this is the sort of thing like this project doesn't have a deadline. This is not being sold to anybody. It's really, you know what I mean? So I'm just creating this because I think that creating art is fun. Cox in Space, for instance, which is, this is behind the scenes for our Cox in Space broadcast. That broadcast is it's for we're selling that. That's the purpose behind it. And so there's a lot of things we're putting into it. For this one, just because I want to make a story, just because, since I have the ability to and can, I will. Jack will tell you the same thing. Like when he has the ability, the time just to draw, he will just draw things. Chandler, on his off time, just because, will make music. So this is just these are things we like to do. Not everything has to be monetized. Like just the joy of creating things is really special, in itself. So don't let anyone ever tell you that, it's a waste of time just to make stuff because you want to. Some of the coolest stuff I've made personally, and the coolest stuff that I've seen made is just because they wanted to. This one is a 4.5, and it is right here. So, 4.5 is going to end at 8.5. And I'm just going to look at it. We're going to be excited because we hit the mirror, which is where the crescendo happens. So the next time we come back to this, Excuse me. The next time we come back to this, we're going to be going into like what the fight is about, right? What is driving these two forces into conflict. And it's about the quokkas smiling. That's the action that drives them into conflict. So he posts a meme of a crying quokka. Jeez. This is also the crescendos where the polarity switches, so it's going to go from the negative to the positive, which is going to be really fun. Because we've been going very, very, you see all these moments are ending negative. If you take a look real quick, we'll see he breaks in the zoo, they find him. Um, he, he's caught, he's thrown outside. Um, the trouble that he's caused is getting the security guards in trouble more, even though they're going out on the limb for them. But this guy's really mad, and then we see that yeah, he's right. They are being exploited, and then he's doing all he can, but he's just being a thorn in their side. So negative, negative all around, and we'll see how smiling is negative sometimes, and then we'll get this all together. I do want to thank you for being here with me tonight to work on this series, to look at it. I hope that you've learned some things. If you do have questions, just post them below. If you want to reach out, you can also go to coxinspace.com, reach out to me on any of my socials. You can go to wigwags.us. You can get my email there, skip@wigwags.us. So you can send me emails there too. But yeah, reach out. I am your host and friend, Skip Marazi. So yeah, you can always reach out to me. Um, uh, if you want to get more information about the show, of course, go to coxinspace.com and check that out there, and we will catch you in the next one. All right, bye.